All right, everybody. Hello and welcome. It is Wednesday, January 29th here on the Western Hemisphere, and on the other side of the world, it is Thursday, January 30th. Wherever you may be, you are welcome here to How to Recession-Proof Your Job Search in 2025. My name is Albert. I'm the founder of Albert's List, and I will be your host today. And if Elisa gets here later as well, she can also co-lead this webinar together. So, who is Albert's List? Albert's List is an organization that I founded March 5th of 2013. We're coming up on our 12 years of serving job seekers and working professionals like yourself. And we're a job search community with 50,400 job seekers, hiring managers, recruiters, career coaches, and more. And our whole entire goal here is to help teach you job search skills, side hustle skills, and AI skills. So you'll never have to find a job ever again because you'll be in such a great situation with your skill set that it won't matter. You can join here at the QR code or enter in bit.ly/find your next job and go into that Facebook group from there. For those of you asking, yes, this presentation will be available later via YouTube. If you'd like the deck itself, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and I can send that to you directly. And this will be recorded too. So, who are we? My name is Albert. I'm the founder of Albert's List. I am a product marketing and tech professional by day. And in the evening, I do this because I think it's fun and because I also enjoy helping others. My partner in crime for this webinar today is Elisa Huang. She's the moderator and bootcamp lead for Albert's List. And so she leads our bootcamp programs, primarily focused on the 8 weeks to employed program that we host, where you learn how to be held accountable and do an effective job search, and at the very least, learn the skills that you need so that you can be effective even in a super competitive market. And so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But for now, we're going to be talking a little bit about the frameworks, the state of the economy, and so forth as it works. And so, as it is, this is our agenda. We're going to talk about a little bit about where the market stands now, how to think about your job search, and 5 strategies you can take to recession proof your job search. And I do know that we have a global international audience tonight. A lot of this content here is United States based, particularly when it relates to the US economy. But the principles of this job search are applicable anywhere and everywhere. And so take what you please, discard what you don't need, but enjoy it nonetheless. So I always believe that in order to understand where you are going, you have to understand where you came from. And where we came from has been a very, very complex, complicated, and really convoluted sometimes in the path that we got here. The high level of it, obviously, is that we've had a lot of job search struggle, especially in the information and white collar space over the past 3 years. In mid 2022, inflation all the way around the world really went up to its highest point in some time. And we've been seeing that serve as a point of struggle for the global economy to get its footing in the 3 years since, characterized by layoffs, characterized by unstable elections potentially, as well as companies that are also pivoting all in to artificial intelligence. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in the next few slides here. And so this first slide obviously is really what tells the story of that. As we know, we started 2020 with the usual bit of layoffs that seemed to happen at the beginning of every single year. And then the pandemic hit. And for the next 6 or 7 quarters, we really didn't have any layoffs until really the second and third quarter of 2022 when it really started going up. And then Q1 of 2023 when it really hit a fever pitch. And so these layoffs, as many were impacted, were what a lot of these leaders, organizational leaders, described as macroeconomic concerns that were really just a transition from a COVID-19 standpoint to one where everything was reopening again. And because you had a lot of money chasing fewer goods, inflation caused a lot of things to go up in price. And so when inflation goes up, one of the unfortunate things, regardless of what country you live in, countries, the federal reserves of these countries like to raise interest rates because interest rates kill demand and in turn also lead to unemployment because what they see is that people who spend less lead to less inflation in the market and therefore allow prices to come back down and normalize to where they were before. And so, for better or for worse, many of you, especially if you are laid off, can be considered the collateral damage of the current economic situation. I hate characterizing it that way, but unfortunately, we're all part cogs of a much, much bigger economy. Our unemployment rate in the United States, in particular, has remained low, relatively speaking. 4% tends to be the full employment or really healthy employment average. And we're now at 4.1% as of December 2024. It's been as low as 3.5, and it's been just kind of here for the time being. And this is considered a decent employment rate, especially when you consider that tech, which, while our main area of interest, has been losing jobs like crazy. The rest of the industries, particularly here in the United States, have been continuing to see gains in areas like government work, healthcare, and retail. Government, as you know, given the new Trump administration, may be in decline soon as he wants people to leave the government sector, and in addition to that, um, also stop additional spending, which President Biden was doing when he was in office. These are the biggest layoffs since COVID-19. It may be evident, right, that all of these are tech companies to some effect. With Intel leading the way, they missed out on the AI bandwagon and had to lay off a bunch of people last August. Tesla, seeing declining demand, laid off 14,000. And Google, Meta, Microsoft, and Amazon all did significant layoffs because they noticed that we were in a state of the economy where it was no longer a COVID-19 front, but rather one where people were going back to work. And so they had to make those cuts, even though they were continuing to make money and earn revenue. In terms of what we see for jobs that continue to grow, as I mentioned in this last month, you continue to see healthcare, retail, leisure and hospitality, government, and some good information around professional and business services and information. That added 38,000 jobs last month, along with financial activities for a robust 50,000 jobs. And if you know anything about where things have been heading lately, those have been flat or even negative over the last couple of quarters. And so it's good to see some kind of rebound, and we'll see if it continues to hold as we go into the new year. One thing to note when it comes to the tech sector, especially for those of us who are dialing in from California, and maybe if you're not in California, this could be a good chart because it means that more tech jobs are coming to you. But since peaking just after 2020, tech jobs have started to decline precipitously, either due to the fact that you're looking at high costs of retaining employees or just wanting to put jobs elsewhere for tax advantages or looking to not appear biased, as is the case with many of these larger social media companies. The stop doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. We're back into numbers that resemble 2015, 2014 numbers, and hopefully it can turn itself around, but it may be not to be the case, especially as AI seems to be taking over in some sense. In the Bay Area in particular, you can see where these numbers have been very stark, especially within the last couple of years in the San Francisco metro area, which has taken a lot longer to recover since the beginning of the pandemic. The times are also a changing. So it is 9 days now into the presidency of Donald Trump, his second presidency. And we have seen some emerging trends. Obviously, these are some trends that we've been noticing and made some comments on earlier this month in our webinar called How to Land a Job in 2025. Some of the things that we mentioned at that point are starting to become true. Number one being that cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence are taking center stage. We saw the deal that several investors with OpenAI as well as SoftBank made. I forget the name of the project, but it's 500, I think $500 billion of investment in terms of creating AI data centers, and that all happened before DeepSeek made its debut the other day out of China that rattled everyone in the markets. So that's been interesting. We also know that Donald Trump has revoked EV credits as well as pulled out of the Paris Climate Accords, which means that if you're somebody who's looking to work in environmentalism or in the conservation space, you're not likely going to get what you want out of being in that realm. We've also seen that labor rights have taken a back seat, as have government jobs, as Trump tries to put a more pro-business spin into the market. And in addition to that, the final thing is that tax cuts are likely forthcoming, especially as Congress tries to make an impact in his first 100 days in office. And so, whether you like these things or whether you don't like these things, these are some of the truths that we are faced with. And they do impact your job search because they will either create more competition or reduce competition in the job hunt that you are doing, and either allow you to make your next career move, or allow you to strategize whatever that next career move may look like. So, in addition to those trends, what else have we been seeing? We talked a little bit about inflation earlier. Inflation has fallen from its peak of just over 9% in July of 2022, and it's settled nicely between the 2 to 3% range. Whether this keeps staying where it's at really depends. We may see some disruption here in the next few months due to eggs and bird flu. We also may just see it continue to stay a little bit elevated as companies and people anticipate tax cuts and other policy instruments from President Trump as his Congress does what it is that he wants to do. And as we know today, one of the things that does drive interest rates up or down is the changing of the federal funds target rate. Today, the Federal Reserve of the United States kept those rates constant between 4.25 and 4.5%. We didn't really see much change there. And we're going to see that the Fed will probably sit on this for a few more months and see what the best thing to do at that point may be. And so, based on depending on which predictors you read, there are some who think that the rates were going to go down a lot more this year, to some who think that the rates will not go down at all, given the potential forthcoming economic activity that is about to take place. And so, where are the jobs and how are the jobs being impacted? As you've heard earlier, it's a lot of AI and healthcare still being very strong as we go through these next couple of years. The interesting thing that we're starting to see is that jobs that are repeatable tend to be those that are easiest to automate, while those that focus on creativity and human touch tend to be harder. And so, if you're doing a job that's like, data collection, or if you're a writer, or if you're somebody who creates graphics for a living as a graphic designer, your job is likely in danger. But if you're somebody who's an artist, if you're somebody who works in health, if you're somebody who sees people every day for a living, your job may not necessarily be threatened, as creativity can generally not be duplicated, even though AI tries its hardest to do so. And so, what do the forward forecasts look like? Honestly, it continues to be a we'll see. Interest rates, as I mentioned, continue to ebb, are ebbing as the Fed takes a step back and waits and sees what President Trump will do when he's in office. His being in office also brings many new opportunities that we've mentioned in these previous slides, including whether you want to be in cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence, regular traditional energy, and it'll be interesting to see where that goes. AI remains hot, and while we see positive numbers with professional services, finance, and information, the overall trajectory has been flat or down, and we hope that that grows in the next couple of months. 2025 will remain to be interesting. Interest rates may continue going down, and that's going to spur more hiring. That's my hope, is that we have a warmer spring, but we are going to have much more pro-business sentiment. And so who knows if that leads to more hiring, but it will definitely lead to, at least for those who own businesses, a lot more hope. AI also remains hot as fundings continue. Further Trump policies and executive orders will unleash innovation. And, you know, that recession talk that we heard so much about during the last couple of years of the Biden presidency remains on hold. And earnings have been doing very well as we now are in the middle of Q4 earnings season. But if your overall job search has been a struggle, it's not necessarily been you. You know, there are a lot of factors that go into every single job search. And as we're going to talk about in this webinar, there are ways to take control of your job search and be in the best position possible. And so the next section we're going to talk a little bit about is how to think about your job search. I'm a big fan of frameworks. I believe that frameworks are key to staying organized and holding yourself accountable as you think about your job search, primarily because a lot of us don't job search with a lot of organization in the first place. And when we think about it that way, it's very fascinating because a lot of us just wake up in the morning aiming to look for work and not really do much else besides that. And so one thing that I took a lot of inspiration from is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. For those of you who are not marketers or business majors or even psychology majors, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the framework that describes what is needed for a human being to feel like they belong on this planet, feel like they survive, or feel like somebody that is capable of doing more than just basic survival. So every one of us needs to be able to breathe, have food, drink, sleep, sweat. And when we are able to have those capabilities, we move up this Maslow's hierarchy of needs all the way to a point where we have the ability to be creative, problem solve, accept facts, be confident, respect others, and feel like we can accomplish something. And so, as I was thinking about this diagram over the years, one thing that really stood out to me was just how much this could apply within the job search, and how much it would be important to think about what skills you need to be successful and what systematization that you don't necessarily need, and can still be okay in your job search. And there's a lot of gaps within the job search that need to be addressed, but there's also things that you don't necessarily need to have to be successful. And what does that look like? What that looks like is something that I call the hiring hierarchy. The hiring hierarchy is a uh, similar to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, a diagram that covers pretty much the importance of everything that you need to be successful in your job hunt, with also elements that you don't necessarily need to be there. The very bottom of the hiring hierarchy addresses the characteristics that you need as to be as a human being, whether it's having the hunger for that new career move, the attitude to have that level of flexibility, a sense of being able to hustle, self-awareness, and that level of commitment. And you know, be as it be, a lot of it's surprisingly the case that a lot of people don't have these things. They wake up, they want to have a job, and they don't really have much to say beyond that. On the other hand, some people do wake up, they have these things, and they're able to get some jobs here and there, but they aren't able to put their job search at scale. And that's where the second level comes in, where you need to be able to master your fundamentals, whether it's having a resume and cover letter, being good, having a good personal brand where people know exactly what it is that you do and what you're looking for, having good job search skills, having good overall skills within your area of interest, being a solid interviewer, and knowing what it is that you want when it comes to networking. And then when you go up the hiring hierarchy, you also have a lot of different other things that you may want to consider, especially if you're going for more senior and executive roles, including having a sense of vision, being able to strategically make your way through a particular job search, and also possessing leadership skills. And this is what I say with regards to like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where not everyone is functioning with everything and some of us are just surviving. In the case of the hiring hierarchy, some of us can just be surviving as well, because sometimes all you need is a job. And if you have basic job search skills, it will get you to some destination, even though it may not be the final destination that you want. And so today we're going to offer you a combination of both levels of what exactly this involves within the hiring hierarchy, but also more so five distinct attributes and skills that you can take advantage of so that when you apply the hiring hierarchy, you can use a distinct and strategic approach into finding jobs that make sense and also will allow you to feel safer, particularly as the tech industry is going through its moment of transition right now. So what does this look like? Number one in your strategy is creating a scalable job search, plus the ability to use AI tools. As we always discuss within our bootcamp, that having the right AI tools at your disposal is important, and having a job search that's also not as on and off, but something that is process driven is incredibly important for your success. And what does that success look like? And Elisa, I see that you're here now, so if you can drop some of these links in the chat, that would be great. But some of the things that you need to do on a regular basis to have a successful job search is to understand what stage you are within your job search. Um, One of the things that we note when it comes to job hunting is to know where you are and who you're talking to. That comes into the interview phase. Building a job tracker and a job search strategy. You got to know what it is that you want out of the job that you're applying for. You got to be able to track the jobs that you're in rounds for so that you know what to tell people, especially if you have new recruiters reaching out. You want to be able to manage your time and manage your calendar. We know that, fun employment is fun because you no longer have the structure of having to go to work. But the other aspect of it is being able to really manage your calendar and have those spurts of energy on a daily basis so that you can job search and job search well. And one of those things that we have is our job search tool. And these are all open source on our Google Drive that we share regularly. And so I'll make a duty to share these once we end this webinar too, so that you can have access to it. And so those are the items that are helpful, and then also to review and update your habits on a regular basis. Because if your job search is not a regular habit, then you're going to fall behind others. AI tools are also important as part of the process to finding that job. So, no matter where you are in your job search, it's important to have an understanding of what that looks like. Um, AI has made a lot of the job search process automated in some sense, and in other ways uh, also scaled. So tools like Teal and Kick Resume and JobScan and Lazy Apply even are able to give you that job search scale that you may be looking for, where somebody else can be finding a job for you. And in this case, that's AI. You can also use triggers like those in Zapier to help you land your next job as well. The second strategy that we want to offer to you today is to look for the riches in the niches. And so, as the job market changes and as tech goes from one direction to another, it's important to know what else exists out there that could be interesting to you. One of the ways to do this is to look at the types of companies that are out there on the market today, because not all companies are created equal. One example, our series, our actually B corporation social impact companies that take a very, very different approach to hiring and talent acquisition. B corporation startups tend to be socially oriented. They tend to have a social benefit to them. It's actually something that Albert's List is currently pursuing because we benefit the public with job search programming and services for other people. And so B corporations tend to not have as many layoffs because they're very thoughtful in who they hire and who they want to hire. And it's important in your situation here to be specific, but also not entirely too specific so you can't even find a company that is interesting to you. Another way to do it is to start a watch list and then also follow key people on LinkedIn who are in the areas that you may be looking to move into, and really just do your research on these companies so that you make sure that when you go back onto the job search, you're looking at companies that are interesting to you and that you're not going to be part of a large reduction in force. Additional research tools that you can use along the way include everything from Google Search to different news releases, public information on Yahoo Finance, and then also to just make a watch list and look at niche job boards. Strategy number three is highlighting recession-proof skills. And so One thing that is important to look at when you are in your job search is to understand that data is the foundation for tech-enabled businesses. No matter what actual business that you're going into today, data is at the center of everything. And so if you're able to showcase what it is that the kind of impact you're able to make within your organization, that's going to help you set yourself apart. So instead of saying within your resume that you uh, did some marketing for a particular technology and you wrote blogs, you also want to talk about the fact that you were able to lead to some number of sales qualified leads, which were valued at a certain amount. And that shows that not only are you capable of doing what you're capable of, but that you're also able to drive an impact and drive it home. Another example, if you're not in one of those jobs that is always results oriented, you can also talk about things like remote and hybrid work communication, and talk about how using certain tools and certain technologies are good in helping you develop processes that can help you work online or offline, and also work with various different learning styles. And so when you help folks understand how these tools work together, you create a compelling case that you are somebody that may be worth hiring and worth looking into. And as you go into this job search where you're looking to change around what it is that you're saying, it positions you differently because it takes you from somebody who may be a taskmaster, somebody who just shows up and does the work and then goes home, into somebody who's a strategic leader, right? So uh, you end up having bullets that sound like data-informed marketer with 3 years of experience working hybrid and remote, or a project manager who has experience that has created workflows that reduces project turnaround time by 58%. The more predictable you make your skills, the easier you make it for other people to understand that you are somebody that can be counted on and that they have to worry less about you because you deliver the results that are important to them. And that leads us into strategy number 4, is to translate those tech skills into governments, nonprofits, etc. Or translate skills that are non-tech into government, nonprofits, and these other spots as well. One of the things is finding opportunities. And opportunities, especially in this market, can tend to be everywhere, from LinkedIn to ZipRecruiter to Indeed, and also right down to networking and the networking events that you've been attending, including events like this one tonight. We may just have 24 people in the room, but if each and every one of us has 2,000 contacts, that means I believe we have 48,000 people that we are second degree connected to in this room. And that means that a lot of people can be affecting a lot of different change. Another way to look at these days is to look at government jobs, and particularly in this case, given where we're going with the Trump administration, state and local jobs, looking at industry newsletters, looking at groups. And then the most important thing I think out of what all of these are will be doing informational interviews and introductions. We are in the age now where, because people can use AI to hunt for jobs and look for jobs at tremendous, crazy scale, uh, the ability to be introduced is a most valuable currency because it shows that you can break through the noise and that somebody values you highly enough that they believe that you would do a good job and are willing to put you in front of someone else. And so if you're not informational interviewing, if you're not networking, and you're not in places where you're very specifically targeting events and places that are very important to you, that is something you need to start doing now. You also need to position yourself for opportunities. So whether it's understanding how your roles have changed over the last couple of how your roles change from tech into something else. So for example, if you are somebody who works in customer success, or if you're somebody who is a program manager, those can all translate into things like community outreach or training. Or if you're doing something like program management, you can also be a program manager within a nonprofit working on something, or you can be a program director for something within government. Networking is also really important too, because it helps you find out who does what well in your goal vertical or area. And so those secondary connections and those warm leads are always incredibly important for helping you find where you need to go, whether it's looking at people who graduated from the same school as you or mutual friends. I mean, you've met us tonight, both Elisa and I. And so that'll give you the opportunity to connect with others and also let us know how we can make the best introductions for you. Strategy number five, and we're going through this quickly, is that you got to keep the fires warm. And what does that mean? Is to use the power of small asks and get in small amounts. Everything that you're going to do in your job search from here on out is going to be a conversation that you need to keep going, even if that conversation on that first touch does not yield anything. It's all about building that relationship and doing that informational interview and doing that informational interview so well that if somebody asks you what it is that you are capable of doing, that you're able to give them a straight answer, and even more so to that, be able to get a referral from them possibly for a job opportunity. And so we have a lot of open source tips that are within this deck. I think Elisa might be able to share some of those links as well here. But essentially, what you're needing to do is build those relationships, keep it warm, stay in touch with folks, let folks know where it is that you stand. And then finally, strategy number six is really that second level of that hiring hierarchy, which is to not forget the fundamentals. And, this is evident really in any job search, but in these times more than ever, it's the small things like spelling errors, being not spelling somebody's name correctly, not knowing what it is that you want, not being a good interviewer that really sets you apart from the other candidates who are applying for the very same job. And so the basics matter more than ever. Write a good resume and you leverage ChatGPT and other tools to make sure that you don't have typos. If you're networking with other people, follow up and do it within 48 hours of meeting them so that they remember who you are. Build a presence on social media in the areas that matter. LinkedIn is always a great place to start, but if you're on Facebook and you got to tell people there, do that. If you got to be on Instagram, do that. And then to write a cover letter and use AI for help. Obviously, AI is not a thing to replace what it is that you do, but it's to help you better articulate what it is that you do really well. In all of my years of helping job seekers, one thing that I know that every job seeker runs into is that they sell themselves short. And that is one of the worst things ever because uh, I've met everyone who's got everything from PhDs to master's degrees and everything from data analytics to quantum computing to deep science and chemistry and physics related work. And it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a marketing manager, a physics person, somebody who does customer success, or somebody who's finding out our next cancer drug. If you're unable to articulate and describe what it is that you are and who you are and what you do, you're going to be put in the no pile, just like everybody else. The other thing, and this goes back to the first level of the hiring hierarchy, is that attitude means everything. I've been saying this for a couple of years now that you cannot take a great resignation mindset into a return to office world, especially if you're somebody who's been job hunting for a super long time. And what does that mean? That is a call to action to ask you to be flexible. It is a call to action to know that unfortunately we no longer live in a job market where the job seeker has leverage. It is now an employer's market. And as bad and as sad as that might be, these job markets do go in cycles. They do change, and one day the job seeker will be back on top. But until then, you have to take the mindset of doing everything and anything you can to be in the employer's corner. Number two is that you have to stay consistent. As I mentioned earlier, this is not just wanting a job, but knowing that you are going to work relentlessly to get that next job. And you're going to keep working that job until you get that offer and all the way through until you get your first paycheck. There's a lot of companies right now still that depending on the state of the market and how they feel about how things are stable are doing things like revoking job offers and so forth. And so you have to keep working. And then the third one is to have accountability and community. And this is where Albert's List has always come in. We have a community of 50,000 people on Facebook, with any time being 3 to 5,000 people who are online. And accountability and community are important because job searching can be a very, very, very isolating experience. We can be always at home and just on our computer and staring into a screen, not knowing what comes next. And for all of us, being able to have a job search where people can support us along the way, give us a pep talk, share a common story is always going to be really helpful because it ensures that we can keep our sanity and stay sane. And so, what that leads us to is to talk about our 8 weeks to employed boot camp, which we've been talking about here for the last little bit. Because you've all decided to join the webinar today, I've decided to pay the Eventbrite fees for all of you and give you a $30 discount at this QR code. But I'm not going to just talk to you about this boot camp. I also want to share with you what this boot camp is about. Because this is our flagship program that we've been doing for the last 5 years. And it's an 8 week program where we want to help you find your next job. And at the very, very least, give you the job search skills so that you can go out in the world and job hunt better than your competition. And so, what does that look like? Our boot camp is for somebody who maybe needed that job yesterday and are tired of the same. If you're somebody who's looking for accountability, community, and support, and you're tired of looking into your computer screen every night with really no idea of what you want to do next, this boot camp is for you. If you went out of the job market for a while and want to know how it's done in 2025, this boot camp's also for you as well. There's a lot of different tools out there. There's a lot of things to keep in touch with. There's a lot of different strategies to apply now that are no longer pounding the pavement and making sure that you walk into a company's front desk and leave your resume there. Or if you're somebody who just recently graduated from college and you don't know how to job hunt and you're doing it for the very first time, this is also for you as well. And so, what do we cover in these 8 weeks? We cover a whole bunch of topics. We talk about understanding you and positioning you for your goals. We talk about what it is that you want to do, especially if you're done with tech and you want to look for something new. What does that look like? We're going to help you master your fundamentals and help you make a resume that gets read. Create the materials and the personal brand that helps you stand out. We're going to help you understand the resources that are available to you, the daily habits, the job search sites, the attitude that you need to have to be successful in your job search. We're going to show you how to network, how to write messages that get read, and how to be an effective networker so that you can build a network as large as Elisa or I, where we both have more than 10,000 people in our communities. We're going to talk to you about interviewing, and we're going to include you, and we're going to bring in a presenter who is a Fortune 500 recruiter at the world's largest search engine. And if you don't know what that is, I invite you to Google it. And he's going to talk to you about what it is to be a really good interviewer, how he interviews people every single day, and what you need to be successful as you do that interviewing. And you're going to create your interviewing documentation so that you can memorize your stories, understand your impact, and be successful and know exactly the story that you're talking about. We're going to talk about navigating change, and we're going to leverage those change elements into your job search, whether it's learning AI, whether it's communicating how things changed for you so that companies don't see you as a risk, but they see you as an opportunity. We're going to talk about your leadership skills. We're going to build a little bit of those leadership skills and how you go into every single bits of your job search, having that level of vision. And then we're going to end with offer letters and negotiation and how to read a negotiation, how to read the room, how to understand whether you can ask for more money or whether it's not the right move to make, and how to read an offer letter, particularly if you're in the United States and you're at an at-will company and what at-will means and what exploding offers are and how to take advantage and understand what all those mean so that you keep yourself safe as you go through an unsafe and uncertain time. And so, what else do you get with this job search? You get an accountability with an ongoing LinkedIn chat that exists pretty much forever. When you're inducted into the Alberts List bootcamp community. You are joining more than 150 people who have graduated from our programs, and 130, actually 130 people who've graduated our programs over the last year, and more than 250 people who have graduated our programs over the last 5 years. And you get a nice little discount code actually too, that you can use for every single subsequent bootcamp from here on out. You get weekly office hours that we're going to extend beyond the 8 weeks to vent and answer your burning questions. And I lead those office hours. I'm the one who answers questions. We listen to you vent, we go through your sob story, and then we build you back up so that you can be going stronger back out there into the job market and be the best that you can be. You're going to have access to recruiters and other job search experts. And so, you have everyone from Jonayat Iqbal, who does our resume coaching, and has 50,000 followers on LinkedIn and builds his business off LinkedIn, helping people write resumes and having ins. You're going to meet Corey, who's our interviewer at the world's largest search engine. He's an absolute powerhouse when it comes to interviewing and knows exactly what he's doing because he's interviewed over 115 people on Albert's List alone over the past 5 years. You're going to meet Lucy, who is a recruiter and a job search coach. And she absolutely adores and cares for each and every one of you and is here to help you out with your job search and more. And then there's one-on-one work with me primarily. So if you want a little bit of extra money on hand and you want to pay a little bit more, you have a chance to work with me one-on-one. And how much do you get this for? I wish I could show it with you, in a much, I guess, more surprising manner, but it starts at $295 for the regular version and $395 for premium. And if you're out there looking at the job search organizations today, Consulting, Austin Belsac, they all offer their job search coaching for at least 10 times this. But we do it in a group coaching setting because we want everybody to feel like they're together as they go through it. And that's why we're able to offer it at much lower prices. And if you have a unique situation, I want to work with you. There are many that I meet on a regular basis who have been out of work for over a year, and it is just absolutely sad to watch. Um, and I want to be able to offer that support. So if you have a unique situation, if you want to be on a payment plan, let's put you on that payment plan and let's get you learning your job search skills so that you can make your job search work. And for those of you who are in here today, I want to give you an extra 30 bucks off for being on the webinar tonight. That bumps the price down to 265 plus Eventbrite fees, which brings it back up to the $295 regular cost without making it any more extra. So scan the QR code. It gives you that discount. I'll be peddling that discount for you throughout the rest of the week so that all of you can get what it is that you need and we can move forward with it. And so, with that said, what are the takeaways from tonight's webinar? If you don't want to join the bootcamp, that's perfectly okay. I want you to know that you're welcome to every single subsequent webinar that we hold, whether it's AI skills, job search skills, side hustle skills, but also to be in my community as well, and really be there with us. But tonight, some of the takeaways are to have a scalable job search and use AI to help you and support you along the way. The number two is to look for the riches in the niches. You might have been in tech, and maybe it's time now to go into the financial services industry. Maybe it's time to go into manufacturing or nonprofits and really look specifically at what it is that's going to make you happy and how to get there. Number three is to highlight your recession-proof skills. And it's not just saying that you did something and you did it well, but that you created impact at the end of the day. Number four, it's to translate your tech skills and your overall skills to other industries, whether it's governments, nonprofits, etc., and being able to network really well and speak to your skills within that area. And number five is to keep the fires warm and be a really great relationship builder. We are at a time right now where job hunting is an incredibly, incredibly competitive task. And so if you're somebody who's able to position yourself, network, reach out to your warm leads, to your hot leads from people who you went to school with, people whom you're in a Facebook group with, people who are San Francisco Giants fans, people who are LA Laker fans, that is the way to do it because it helps you stand out and it brings that sense of camaraderie. And we're going to teach you all of these skills in depth in our boot camp. So the code below here, I don't think works that way, but this is the code that'll give you the $30 off for being on the webinar tonight. So I'm going to hold this here, and we're open for questions. If you have any questions, if you want to know more about the boot camp, we're here to answer those questions. If you are somebody who needs a payment plan, please direct message me on LinkedIn or the email that I sent to you when you signed up for this webinar. And Letitia, it's wonderful to hear that you're a relationship ninja. Yeah, we're open here for questions. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to ask? All right. It sounds like all of you are good with your questions and ready to sign up for the boot camp. Again, it is here on the screen with the QR code. We're giving you all $30 off tonight. So $30 will pay the Eventbrite fees. We want to help you start your 2025 in the most solid fashion possible. So let us know if you have any questions. We'll be following up with emails for the remainder of the week, and we look forward to supporting you. And so, with that said, we've got a lot more events on Albert's list, including our boot camp starting Monday. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to helping you. And if not, I look forward to seeing you at another webinar. And I wish you the best of luck in your job search and career search. And I look forward to hearing from you. Actually, yes, before I go further with that, I should say timing. I'm so perfecting this. So our boot camp sessions are every single Monday at 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So there's an hour and a half for that, and it goes for 8 weeks. So we start February 3rd, and we have sessions on February 10th, 17th, 24th, March 3rd, March 10th, and March 17th. And we have office hours in between as well. So we'll make it all work, and we'll decide the days of the office hours, and we'll see how that works out. So, yeah, if you're in Australia, I believe you add 3 or 4 hours to that timing. But yes, check on the timings, and we'll see how it can work out. Cool. So, thank you so much for asking about that, Roger. I'd love to have you there. We'd love to help you out. And if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and conclude for this evening. And we look forward to seeing you soon and helping you in your job search. Thank you, everybody, and we will talk to you all soon. Bye bye.